If you are a CEO or executive that isn't planning to work for the same company for the rest of your life or until you retire, then you should probably be taking steps to set up your next opportunity. Welcome to CEOs on Video, the show to help you go from being the head of your business to the face and voice of your brand. If you're a CEO, a business owner, an entrepreneur who is involved in bringing a new business for your company, then you need to be putting out content. You are the subject matter expert in your business, and there's no one who can market it better than you can. In this show, I interview experts who are killing it online, using video, using digital media to grow their business, and we're going to show you how you can be doing the same. My guest today is an expert at helping you find and seize new career opportunities. Angela Bucellato. I got it, right?
Bucellato. Yeah, you were close.
Bucellato. I've met you so many times and I knew I was going to stumble over it.
Listen, my own friends don't even took years to get it right. So we'll give you credit, RJ. It's okay.
Angela is the CEO of The Resume Rescue. She's a LinkedIn branding expert, a career coach, a business consultant, and overall just a lovely human being. If you're searching for your next career opportunity or plan to be in the future, Angela and her team are who you want standing in your corner. Welcome to the show, Angela.
That was the loveliest intro ever. Thank you, RJ. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I will share it as a ringtone and you can just tout that.
I'll use it. It'll be my pep talk to myself every night. I love it. Start my morning with a voiceover from RJ. We love that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The custom alarms. That's the new offering. Angela, we've met a couple of times now.
Yes.
And I've seen a lot more of what you share online.
Mm-hmm.
And something that has always really stood out to me about you is how likable, relatable, and knowledgeable you are, whether I'm talking to you directly or if it's something on your social. You position yourself really, really well. And you've built a really great brand around yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually what I want to dig into today. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Fantastic. So the first question I've got for you is really, I read somewhere recently that your brand is your resume. What are your thoughts on that?
In the future, resumes, I feel, are not going to be a thing, which is hilarious that I own a resume writing company. But your brand can speak volumes for you. It's pen and paper for a resume of you have the same speak, you play the synonym game, you kind of regurgitate the same thing for the same industry, but your brand is what speaks for itself. And I'm not someone that was very much on social media, I thought this was crazy. When I started this business, I thought it had to be, well, my competition is doing this, so I should do this too, which is kind of going in the rat race too of whether you're a CEO, whether you're a job seeker, of I should do this, not what do I want to do? It's always what should I do is our initial thought process. So when I kind of got over that mindset of saying, okay, I like to be authentically myself. I like to be this sarcastic, outgoing, truthful, honest person. And that's a part of my brand. And that's where that's attracted the clients I want to work with. Because do I want to work with the people that are super uptight and, critique every single detail? I do sometimes, but those aren't my people, so to say. And when you build your brand and your brand becoming your resume, it's those people speaking for yourself, whether it's on a client standpoint of clients you want to work with, whether it's a corporation, who you want your boss to be, being a CEO of who you want your employees to be. Because when you have that brand, the right employees will be attracted to you and the people will come. So that's where your brand 100% is so crucial, more than a piece of paper or more than anything, because that's what people will have that memory of you long term.
Yeah. We tend to kind of overcomplicate in terminology.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because you throw brand and, that used to mean design and color palette and
right.
the kind of tangible representation of your company. But really it's the reputation of who you are, of your company, what people feel when they think about you. And I think that plays a much bigger role than most people are willing to admit in how others make decisions.
Absolutely.
What people know about you will affect if they want to work for you or if they want to hire you or if they want to do business with you.
Well, and that kind of goes into like referrals. I mean, you and I are talking right now from a common friend of ours, of someone I met off LinkedIn and someone you met off LinkedIn. And it's a easier referral from, different people that you trust in your friend group and coworkers, whoever, that you trust what they say and you run with it. So if I'm that common recommendation of like, oh, call Angela, she'll help you with your resume. That's the amount of referrals we get, I know you get, and other business owners, CEOs get. That's better than anything. It's that buyer's journey of they're already bought in. Like they're like, just tell me where to sign up. I will do it. I will do anything you say. You tell me to go run across I-75 in traffic because I'm going to be safe. Great. I trust you. But referrals are such a needed concept. And a lot of people don't believe that, or it's like, I need new customers. I need new customers. No, use your existing customers, use your friends, use your network, use your brand to get you to where you want to be too.
100%. So I think one of the challenges, and I feel like you have gone through this so much more, but when you look at like a resume or like one of those, 3-sentence website bios that's supposed to like introduce you to the leadership.
Yes.
It's a very one-dimensional view of a human being.
Yes.
Like it really doesn't tell you anything. So how can like CEOs, senior leaders, like business executives use personal brands to attract new opportunities or enhance the position that they're already in?
A big piece of this that I feel like a lot of people sleep on is vulnerability or being authentic. It's, people, the hot new topic is, I'm sure you see on LinkedIn too, RJ, is like, I'm authentic, I'm this. It's like, if you have to say you're authentic, you're probably not. But I share often about I go to therapy. I share about taking breaks. I share about just like, hey, I'm having a rough day. I also will share those positive things or give that humanistic side. And that's where I feel like this old way of thinking is like, well, who cares what people think? Like, who cares what this is going to happen and how this is going to be? It's like, okay, well, you're going to resonate with someone. You're going, like, that one message will hit with someone. I talk about getting fired from my job. I talk about, being the only woman in a male-dominated environment, getting paid less. I mean, those are just examples for my brand that work for me in that authenticity. And as CEOs and as these people that are put on this pedestal of like, we are perfect humans and we wear suits and we are so great, which I feel like was the old way of thinking. It's like, hey, look, side story for this, but one of my best posts I ever did, I have tattoos, I had blue hair at the time, and I made a post on LinkedIn of like, hey, I'm not your typical CEO. You look at me, I don't look like the picture perfect CEO, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to get you a great job or help you network and find your voice and get you to where you want to be. And so many people resonated with that. And those are the people I want to work with, is the people that are forward thinking, the people that just don't have the old school image of like what a CEO is. And that's okay if you're that like suit and tie person. I'm not saying that, but you have to know what works for you and your audience. And that's what works for me.
On the note of authenticity, I think there's so much, like, people say it and there isn't enough detail given of what that actually means.
Right.
Like, it, on one hand, it isn't an excuse to like get away with bad behavior or presenting yourself in a way that is offensive and excusing yourself because that's who you are and you have to deal with it. That's not okay either.
Agreed.
But a lot of people do lean into, they're like, well, what's authentic? Like, what does it even mean? And I think so much of it is like, who are you when no one's watching? Mm-hmm. Like, that's who you actually are. Who are you in your own mind? Not who do you aspire to be, not who are you trying to be, not who do you want to be like, not what do you want people to think of you, like, who are you actually? And when those line up, I feel like that just would create such a better environment for positive mental health in leadership roles. Because you could have like cognizance and, or less dissonance in who you are and who you think you are.
Oh, for sure. And that's the perfect way to put it, is who you are, not who you aspire to be, and you kind of have to go through this. And I don't know if you did this when you started your own business too, but it was like, what do I want to convey? Or what message, if the roles were reversed, if I was looking for a job, if I was trying to build my brand, if I was trying to figure out social media, what message would I want to convey, or who would I want to work with? That's what I tell a lot of CEOs or individuals I work with. Like, that's who you need. That's who you should, how you should act, is what you would want to see, or what you need to hear, and this and that. But that's so underrated, and it's 100%. So you have to do some introspection. Is you have to look internally. You have to look at what you like, what's bringing you happiness, what's bringing you down, and you can build that all into a pretty little brand, and it actually works. I promise.
Hey there, if you are hearing this and you think a podcast might be right for your business, then you're in luck. One of the services that we do over at Evoke Media Labs, which is the sponsor of this episode, is create podcasts for busy entrepreneurs like yourself. Having a podcast is an excellent way to showcase your thought leadership, your industry expertise, and build connections within your industry so that you can provide something valuable to your audience in a non-salesy way. Nobody wants to download an ebook in exchange for an email anymore. Having a podcast lets you nurture and build trust with your audience and lets them get to know you a little bit before and up until they're ready to actually have a conversation with you. So if that sounds like something that you want in your business, shoot us a message and we'll see if we're the right fit for you to help you launch and grow your show. All right, back to the episode. I think to give a story of like what not to do, because I started completely in the realm of like fake it till you make it. And I went down that path enough to see why so many people who continue down it end up just miserable.
Yeah.
I, growing up, was shy, quiet, insecure, anxious, like not a people person at all. I was a cynic sitting in the back of the room. And I went to college and met this good friend, and he was the complete opposite. The guy that everyone would like kind of gravitate towards. Like everyone wanted to talk with him. Everyone wanted to go out, like just a really good guy. And I'm like, I'm going to be him, which is like wearing your dad's suit and like trying to just like pantomime your way through the movements. And it was like, who am I right now? But when you can, sometimes it requires you to step into something that you're not, or that you're not comfortable with, to realize that that isn't for you. It's not the right crowd, not the right approach, and that you can be comfortable being who you actually are.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where, I mean, being a CEO, you're uncomfortable anyways. If you're not comfortable with being uncomfortable, you need to get there. That's for sure. But you're nothing's going to be perfect. Like that's a perfect example of, things aren't sunshines and rainbows. It's not all like great days. You do have some bad days, and you do have days where it's just frustrating, and you don't want to show up on social media. You don't want to show up for your brand, and that's okay. Like that's where your brand comes into play. Like, again, honesty. You want to be who you want to be. And you surround yourself with like-minded people that just encourage you and empower you. And that's something that, I don't know. It's so funny that we're sitting here doing this. And this has just been my reminiscent part this last week for whatever reason, maybe because the sun's out in Michigan and, we don't get it often, but it's just like, how much you evolve, how much you've changed. And like you said, RJ, of just who you were growing up. I was the same way. I was a quiet, I don't want the attention on me, but I was always around outgoing people. And it just takes to being like, okay, well, why do you care what people think? Like, just be what you want to be. So now I am that person that, I'm having bad days. I'll tell you I'm having a bad day. I, maybe had a nice little mental breakdown. I'm going to tell you I had a nice little mental breakdown. But again, it's human. It's being who you want to be, and you can change. And if you're not consistently changing, I do think that is a little bit of a red flag, or just being honest with yourself. Yeah. But as a business owner, you have to evolve as who you are personally, professionally, whatever. And I feel there's a bit of me in every facet of what I do. How I talk to my friends is the same way I talk to my family and to my clients. And I treat everyone like family, not the toxic family from corporate America, but like the good family members you like, right? But and that goes into this branding. It all just results back to this brand and being yourself.
Yeah. A lot of kind of what I'm hearing of your approach is just being yourself kind of out loud, just kind of sharing the reality of that.
Yes.
Which ties kind of nicely because we can talk theory and like, this is what you should,
of course,
what you should be doing. Like, you should be authentic and build a brand. Like, okay, right. But like, what do you actually do though? Like, how do you get there if you're not already, like, why should you do it? So what are some like practical ways for people who are, business leaders, CEOs, business owners to build their brands? Like, what are 2 or 3 things that they should be doing?
If you're not comfortable with just like putting yourself out there, I always say just start building. Like, I have a group of people I can rely on, my business friends, so to say, that I have an idea, I have something, I have a story I want to share, I need a pep talk, that they're my go-to people. And that's where I started there. Because yes, your high school friends are great, your college friends are great, but unless they're business owners, it's very different than just your 9 to 5 because you're not working 9 to 5 anymore. But I have that group of people that I started with to kind of understand what this needs to get around. And that's when relying on said friend was like, okay, if you want to be yourself, like you should be yourself. You're funny, you're outgoing, you're inspiring every time. I'm inspired every time I talk to you. So why don't you just tell the good people that's what you should do? So I started there, and then it was just like, rip the Band-Aid off. There's not even a great piece of advice. It's just rip the Band-Aid off and try it. You're not building this brand for the likes, for the comments, for the shares. Are they great? Absolutely. But if you're going into this mentality of saying, I need to have, 10,000 followers on this platform and I need to do this, then you're doing it wrong. You really want to focus on building connections. And my kind of second tip with this would be anyone you meet personally, professionally, at a bar, at a concert, at a sporting event, wherever you are, I always add people on LinkedIn. That's my go-to. It's kind of like my virtual Rolodex of people. And those same people will see what I'm doing, and then they refer people. And then you got a whole book of business built. But as far as the branding and posting goes, I do have a notebook. I'm a pen and paper gal that is just dedicated to business ideas. So any idea I have, anything that I'm like, oh, I should change this branding, or this would be a really good LinkedIn post or TikTok, whatever, it goes in that notebook. And then what I do is I do rely on someone to go through it with me and say like, hey, was this a good idea? Was this not? I'm lucky to have employees right now, but rely on your employees, rely on your business friends, rely on someone you really liked on LinkedIn. But really what's kind of helped me, and this is a huge part of my branding, is like shoot your shot. Meaning if you like someone's post on LinkedIn, message them. Literally, again, why we're talking right now is because I shot my shot. We'll say that with someone on LinkedIn who I like their branding and I like their post. And then that's trickled down to thousands of dollars worth of business. It's led to opportunities. It's led to friendship. It's led to just this plethora of information where I do that. I make that a part of my monthly goals to just like spend some time engaging with people. It's weird because you're told growing up, like, don't talk to strangers, don't do all of that. But so many people are in the same boat and we're all very much alike, but nobody wants to talk about it. And that's where, as part of your branding, you should talk about it. And if you're not a personal share, like overshare person, you don't have to. I am. And that's what does well for me. But it's look at what you want to see, look at what you want to convey, look at what works for you. I have ADD. I am a extremely extroverted ADD, love procrastination, get things down to the moment. I know that gives you some anxiety, RJ, because you are way more organized than me, but that's what works for me. And what works for me is not going to work for you and for other people, but I know what works best for me. And I'm taking my strengths and just like expanding upon those. So I know that was way more than 3, but here we are.
I love that.
Thank you.
Because I think, because so many times if you look in like personal branding, it all gravitates towards like large number followings, right, and like where it's not really practical. Mm-hmm. And the reality is you don't need a large following. No. Like relationships are built one person at a time. So approaching it more as like digital networking and even just starting a conversation, like seeing where it goes.
Right.
Because something I learned early on when I first started networking and going to in-person events is that there's so many people who go to events that don't talk to anyone new because everyone there is hoping someone else will come up and say hi.
Right. That's true.
Like that is true regardless of position, of status. Like everyone just wants someone to come up and say hello, to break that awkward tension of trying to be like that first person to initiate and not know what to talk about. So if you can come in and say, I loved that video you shared, or hey, I saw you on TikTok or Instagram, or I saw this thing that you did. That's awesome. Like what, do you do a lot of stuff like that? What's your process for it? People will always engage with that. Like it gives them the opportunity to avoid awkwardness,
right,
which we tend to lean into. So if you can be that opener, that connector for people, they will gravitate towards you.
Oh, I just had someone, I was at a networking event on Wednesday and someone walked up to me and said, oh my gosh, I keep seeing your TikToks. Like they crack me up. They're so funny. I'm like, oh, didn't know anyone looked at those. But it's that conversation starter. And I'm truly not doing it for the followers, but it gets business and it gets conversation started because again, you would have told me I'd be, pouring my heart out on the internet. I would have laughed in your face, but it gets business and it does really well. And it is a great conversation piece. Everyone's alike. Everyone wants to have conversation. Everyone wants to have meaningful connection. So why not, like you, per your point, be that person that does it?
Yeah. So on the note of building that point of connection and a little bit in a sense, building a sense of authority and like minor celebrity, right? Like, because when people see you on a media platform, it's hard to distinguish seeing someone on a little screen versus the big screen. Like we create that sense of like, I saw this person before I met them in person. So there's a little bit of like a status elevation when you encounter someone through that platform, which I think is really the power of building, a brand or building reputation online, whether it's in a format like this on a podcast or producing content on TikTok or on YouTube, or like you can do whatever makes sense for you. But shifting that perception of your authority and expertise can and does create opportunity.
No, and the opportunities are endless. And I truly believe that, of even if it's just like not even from a monetary value, but I mean, as you get old, this sounds weird to say too, but as you get older, it's hard to make friends, or it's hard to like find your people, or, some people like say, find your tribe and all of that. And not everyone is lucky enough to be close with their family, to have close friends, or, you may be up and moved across the United States from where you lived before and you're starting brand new. But that's where part of this brand and part of these followers, connections, whoever you have, like is still resonating with your audience, with you and who you are as a person, that can lead to more business opportunities, but even just speaking engagements, or even just like anything. That's just something I've just been so appreciative of this week, of just, I can count on three people right now I met off LinkedIn that have brought me in ridiculous amounts of opportunity, whether it's speaking on webinars, whether it's close of business, whether it's getting my foot out there, or my voice out there, I should say, but all from just building this brand, because you build it and they will come. Field of Dreams, great movie. But that's what it's so relevant. Like you post something, like the right people will come and will see your vision without you having to share. And another important point that I do like to reiterate too is, I always get backlash of saying like, well, what if they don't believe in me, and what if this? You're always going to have those people. If everyone is 100% bought into you, that you're doing something wrong. I mean, you're always going to have the friends, family members, complete strangers who are just like, this is a stupid idea. I mean, I still have family members that still to this day think like, oh, my business is cute. Like, oh, that's a cute little business you have. And it's just like, you know what I mean? It's just, you're never going to please everyone, and you shouldn't be doing this to people please. You should be doing this for yourself and nobody else, and your brand, of course. But got me on my soapbox here.
Yeah. But it's true. I mean, because those are the things that people don't talk about, or they're secretly fearing, and which is why they haven't done anything. People who are like, they're running large companies, 7-8 figure businesses, who are afraid to publicly voice what they think and what they know, even though, they haven't lived with their parents in 3 decades, but they still fear their opinions. It's true. And like, sometimes people are going to say something, but they aren't in the position that you are to see things from your vantage point. And they're not your customer. Like, they're not the person you're here to serve. And by all means, like, be their friend, be their, be their loved one outside of like your brand, but like, they don't have to understand why you're doing what you're doing.
Right.
It's not for them.
And they're still talking about it. So it's still working. Even if you don't agree with it, it's still working though, right?
That is true. So on the note of like putting yourself out there and, honestly being transparent, a lot of people fib on their resumes and when they're looking for opportunities. What do you think about when people are, maybe not putting out exactly who they are? Maybe they're trying to fake it till they make it a little bit, trying to put out a different perception than what is true. Like, have you seen that play out at all?
All the time. So again, this goes into the follower accounts where we see it on LinkedIn of like, my wife was dying in the hospital, but I had to take a break for lunch. Or what was a good one I saw the other day? Oh, this candidate arrived an hour late to the interview, didn't remember anything, and we still hired them. Like, shut up. No, you didn't. So it's just, there's so many people out there that do lie and do say things. I mean, I found someone that actually like stole my about section on LinkedIn and just like did like the cheaper version of it, which was kind of funny and almost like, oh, that's nice. You thought mine was good enough for you. But there's always going to be those people out there. But what a lot of people don't realize is you can tailor your news feeds. You can tailor your news feed to people you like. I mean, I get your stuff, RJ. I get, my whole news feed is just like honesty. It's realism, it's sarcastic, it's very much like I learned something from it and I get excited to go on social media. It's not like, oh my God, if so and so tells me one more time I need to be so positive. Like, no. And there is something to talk about too of toxic positivity and what a problem it is as well, because the people that are like, I don't have bad days, I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, and that's great if that's you. That ain't me. I'm let's stay up late, let's talk business over a few drinks. Let's do, the untraditional way. But you find those people, and there's always going to be the people that are just like obnoxious with the, like just lying about things. And you trust your gut. I mean, with anything in life, even when you kind of find who you want to work with, like trust your gut. Just because someone has, tens of thousands or millions of followers doesn't mean they know what they're doing. I mean, I fix so many resumes of people that are like, well, I found someone on this platform and they had like 1 million followers. So I hired them to do my resume, and it's garbage because they tried to optimize and monetize an opportunity because they have followers. And that's not to say that's for everyone. Like, there are great people out there that may seem like they're fake, but it's just trust your gut at the end of the day. And I went through this a few years ago where I said, if I read something and it makes me upset, like whether it's just like, mentally you kind of get in a worse mood or just even like that little tinge of change, I'm unfollowing them. And not like unfollow to be rude, but just like I'm not getting their posts in my news feed. So, and ever since I did that, I do that on every single platform I'm on. I love going on social media now. And it's fun to me and it's really exciting. I learn a lot of information. I make a lot of great connections, and I'm like, wow, I'm motivated to make TikToks, or I'm motivated to, engage with the right people. But it's just fine. It comes down to finding your people, and not everyone's for you, and you're not for everyone. And that's okay.
Yeah, I love that. So I think to wrap things up, we've covered a lot here. I mean, we've covered thinking of your brand as your new resume. We've talked about attracting new opportunities by putting yourself out there and being who you actually are. You shared a couple of pretty practical tips for growing your brand online. Like, it doesn't matter where you're starting. You could be starting today. You could have been at it a while that you could still be using these. And I think really the most important point that we've covered is, how real should you be? And the answer is like, be who you actually are. Be yourself, and a lot of good things are going to happen. So to close out the episode, Angela, I just want to say thank you for coming on. Do you have any kind of parting wisdom from the work that you've done, helping people navigate this realm? that you'd like to leave our listeners and viewers with?
I won't say it is a regret, but if I were to say I wish I could change one thing about being a business owner, is I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I would have posted on social media. I wish I would have got out of my own head. I wish I would have just been who I am today. And just like, you just got to jump in. You know, you could dip your toes in. Yes, that's great, but start taking the steps in the water and you will find it. And hey, if you ever need tips on it, you need a good pep talk, or you ever need questions on whatever platform, you can always connect with me. I mean, I'm always happy to help people out. I preach about this all the time through my podcast, through any posts I make, but you just got to do the damn thing. That's the best piece of advice I could do, is just do it. That's it. And thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
I'm so glad you ended it there. I love that so much, Angela. It's always a pleasure. I'm sure we will talk again very soon, but thank you for coming on CEOs on Video. Thank you so much for watching this episode of CEOs on Video. I hope you got something valuable from it. If you liked this episode of CEOs on Video, be sure to let us know by giving us a follow. Leave us a rating on Apple Music. It would mean the world to us. So let us know what you like, what you didn't, and if there's anything that we can do to help you, be sure to reach out. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you on the next one.